Hi, and welcome to Debunk File. My name is Sup, and today we're going to be talking about death metal. And no, I do not mean the genre. In the horror sphere, lost media has always been a forefront. It's just something people really seem to be interested in, including myself. Whether we're talking about lost video games, lost episodes and shows, or like today, lost music, people are fascinated in this stuff, including us. One really popular mystery recently that is similar to what we will be covering today is the song that has been nicknamed the most mysterious song on the internet. It pretty much follows a song that aired on a German radio station back in the 1980s, and no one really knows where it came from at all. It was covered by Wang this year, who made 2 great videos on it. But with the mystery we are covering today, it isn't just a song that is being searched for. It's an entire album. The mystery's roots come from, where else of course but 4chan, where an anonymous user created a post on the music board saying, "I picked this up because it looked interesting. I wasn't able to find any references to it online whatsoever. Even with super obscure bands, you might expect to find an old MySpace page mentioned in some form. Does anybody recognize this album?" After he talks about what the album sounds like, but more importantly he linked a picture of the cover right here, looking at the picture we see that the album is called Death Metal, and is by a group named Panchikos. His post immediately gained traction, where basically everyone asked him to share the album, and he did. He originally provided a mega link, then he made one for YouTube. That YouTube page is now gone, but it has since been re-uploaded, so if you want to check this album out, make sure to check out his YouTube. Apparently this album is from 2000, and this is still the only copy that we have. When listening to the music, ironically, it is not death metal at all, and is instead a mix of lo-fi and indie rock. But there's a catch, of course. The entire album has very heavy distortion present in every second of every track. It is like this because it's a 17-year-old CD that is deteriorating. The thing is though, is that most will agree that this distortion adds a ton to the project. It gives us this haunting yet beautiful feeling that would simply not be present without the distortion. And with all that set up, it's time for me to attempt to figure out 2 things. First, when was this made? And by who? When doing this, I'm going to attempt to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and answer both questions at the same time, since it's going to be easier to explain everything that way. So without further ado, let's do this. Now, I know it's already been stated that this album was made in the year 2000, but how can we really prove that? That's right, we can't. For all we know, the person who uploaded this album could have made it himself in just 2016. So the first thing I did was I analyzed the cover to see if anything was contradictory. My first step in doing this was to see where this album cover's image came from. And when doing that, I found that this girl on the cover is from a manga called Mint Nabukura, which luckily doesn't contradict anything, since this manga ran its course between the years of 1997 to 2000, which means that this cover lines up with the date of the album perfectly. A lot of people still think that the anonymous user who first shed light onto this album is the creator, though, as like I explained earlier, there was literally no information at all about this album online before he made his post. It's also an album that does align with what a lot of people on 4chan happen to like, so it's entirely possible that he created this oddball experimental album and put it on 4chan, since that is the one place he expected people to really like it. But then, why would he lie about it? Why couldn't he just be upfront and say that he made it and wanted to share it? And honestly, I don't really know. You guys are welcome to explain why you think he'd do that in the comment section below. One thing that does steer people away from that anonymous user making it is the back of the album cover does actually list the 4 members of Panchikos, and they are as follows: Owain, Andy, Sean, and John. There's also the distortion that we mentioned earlier, which, well, yeah, it could have been intentional since a lot of the members on 4chan Music Board love experimentation in their music. It does sound pretty legit. Of course, it is possible to fake this, but it really sounds genuine to me. This has led a lot of people to think that some kids in a secondary school back in the late 90s created this album, and it naturally had limited copies, so it never really went anywhere. Once again, this is a claim that doesn't have direct evidence, but it really does make sense, and would explain why there aren't any other copies that we know of. So, in conclusion, this is the file that is tough because of the lack of information on the subject. Tons of claims were made here, but none of them really had evidence to back them up. I personally think that this album really is this old, since the distortion sounds genuine to me among other small things that were mentioned earlier. But as for who made it, I have absolutely no idea, and I'm not sure we're ever really going to be able to find out. That's why this file will remain a mystery. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, make sure to follow us on Instagram at DebunkFile, our Twitter at TrueGIF. Make sure to support us on Patreon, even $1 really helps, also at DebunkFile, and our Discord is the best way to connect with us. That is also at DebunkFile, and you can find all those in the description below. Also, make sure to like this video and comment if you have any theories or anything you want us to cover next. As always, my name is Seb from DebunkFile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.